Okay, good evening, and welcome to the May 10th JEDO Board meeting. I'll call this meeting to order, and if you will stand as we give the Pledge of Allegiance, and we move on. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk will call the roll, please.
Mayor Padilla.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Dobler.
Here.
Councilmember Emerson.
Here.
Councilmember Nager. Here. Commissioner Rapon.
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
And Commissioner Mays.
Here.
Council members Hiller.
Here.
Ortiz. Valdivia Aquila. Kale. Duncan. And Hofer. She's present.
She's muted, but she's...
Okay. Gotcha. So we have 7 voting members present.
Okay. We move on now to action items. If the clerk will read.
A is approval of the February 8, 2023 JEDO Board meeting minutes.
Okay.
Move approval. Second.
Have a motion to approve by Deputy Mayor Dobler, second by Commissioner Rippon. Are we still doing roll call vote? Okay. Call the roll.
Mayor Padilla.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler.
Yes.
Councilmember Emerson.
Yes.
Nager.
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon.
Here. Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
And Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes. Motion carries.
Okay. Move on to action item 3B. The clerk will read.
B is approval of an amendment number 2 to the incentive agreement between Go Topeka and Project GG.
Okay. You can entertain a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. We have, I'm sorry.
Ashley first.
Ashley. You gotta jump up quicker, Ashley.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so first on the list, we do have Project GG. This is an existing business in manufacturing, looking to amend their previous contract that they had because they've met their original numbers in place and looking to invest another $725,000 and then adding another 6 positions with the average annual wage of $60,000. The economic impact over 10 years will be $51.5 million, and the ROI is 41%. So with that, we are happy to announce that Project GG is Global Green, whose vision is to introduce soybean products in Northeast Kansas to their international market. So we would ask for a motion to approve the final contract in the packet tonight.
Heard the motion, have heard the item.
I would make a motion that we pass this.
Okay. Motion to approve by Commissioner Mays, is a second by Commissioner Cook. You call the roll, please.
Mayor Padilla.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler.
Yes.
Council members Emerson.
Yes.
Nager.
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon.
Yes.
Cook.
Yes.
And Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes. Motion carries.
Okay, motion's been carried.
So then we would like to invite managing partner Ryan Brocksterman up to say a few words about the company.
Good.
Hi, I'm Ryan Brocksterman with Global Grain, and I'd like to thank you all for this opportunity. We had the fortune of starting this business, and I think our projected opening date was March of 2020. So it got delayed, as you can imagine, and ended up starting a container export business in the middle of COVID is not a good idea, but we made it through it, and we're adding on. So I guess we're thankful for the opportunity.
Congratulations for the success in your business.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Commissioner? So it says here that you're experiencing faster than anticipated growth. I'd hate to think how fast you would have grown were it not for COVID then. So congratulations on the success.
Thank you.
And I think we'll pause to take a photo with them, and then we'll come back to the regular agenda.
Okay, if we can take a quick 10-minute recess while we step just outside. Okay, you got that taken care of? We'll move on to action item 3C.
C is approval of an amendment to the 2022 cash carry forward agreement between Go Topeka and the Joint Economic Development Organization to increase the amount from $15,600,000 to $15,663,522.
Okay?
Thank you. This request is pretty straightforward. I did provide some additional language via email a few weeks ago. This is just a recognition of some revenue from years past from an easement that we had with Kansas Gas that we received some revenue from. So it increases our carry forward by, $63,000 and some change. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those. Otherwise, ready for a motion when you are.
Okay. Any questions from Molly? Okay. Motion?
Approval, Mayor.
Move to approve by Councilman Emerson, second by Councilwoman Nager. If you call the vote, please.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Yes.
Councilmembers Emerson,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
and Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, motion has been carried. We move to action item 3D. If you will read, Madam Clerk.
D is approval of the 2022 Go Topeka audit report.
Hello, I'd like to introduce Karen Lynn. She's the audit partner in charge of Go Topeka's audit, and she's going to talk to you about our 2022 audit results.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Believe you have 2 documents related to the audit. One is the financial statements themselves, which has our audit opinion attached to them, and the other is entitled the Report to the Board of Directors. And what I would like to do is just go through that document, which summarizes the conclusions from the audit, and are the things that are the important conclusions from the audit process that I would like to communicate to you. So first, our responsibility after we're hired to perform the audit is to perform that audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. Those standards require that we plan and perform the audit with the objective of forming an opinion about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. So we design our audit with that objective in mind. We were able to issue an unmodified opinion, which is the highest form of opinion that can be given to a set of financial statements. Some of the things that we do as a part of the audit process, I want to just point out to you. We exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We identify and assess the risks of material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and we design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks. We also obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design our audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but those are not for the purpose of expressing an opinion about the effectiveness of those internal controls. We also evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of significant accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. And we conclude whether in our judgment there are any conditions or events that are considered in the aggregate that would raise any doubt about whether the organization can continue in existence for a reasonable period of time, which is generally considered to be 1 year. So all of those things are part of our audit process in addition to the evaluation of the financial numbers and the things that we do with the financial documents. If there were anything in any of that assessment that we find that is inappropriate or inconsistently applied or unusual, we would bring it to your attention so that you would be aware of anything that we identified. This year there was one Financial Accounting Standards Board new standard that needed to be adopted into the financial statements, and that was ASU number 2016-02 leases. And this new standard requires that leases, which in the past had been considered to be operating leases and were just expensed as they were incurred, are now required to be recorded on the financial statements as assets, and the amounts that are owed to be recorded as liabilities on the financial statements. And they are recorded as a right-of-use asset. Even though you don't physically own them, you have the right of their use. And so that we went through a process of identifying with Josh and the accounting team what those leases were for the organization, and those were recorded on the financial statements this year. So that's something new. In all of those other areas, there was nothing else that we identified that we needed to bring to your attention. As a result of that, there was one audit adjustment that we made as a part of the audit process, and it was to record the asset and liability related to those leases. We also identified some significant estimates that are in the accounting streams. Those are, if you're looking at this document, they're on page 4 in the table there. They're considered to be two: fair value of investments and the operating lease right-of-use assets and liabilities. Those are the two significant estimates. So for those, what we do is we look at the accounting policy, we look at management's estimate for recording those, and we come to the conclusion that they are reasonable, and the amounts that are recorded in the financial statements are reasonable for those significant estimates. Our audit opinion that is attached to the financial statements does have a paragraph this particular year that does point out that we did implement this new standard for leases, and it does point to the footnotes, to the footnote in particular where we describe the fact that there is this new standard, and then there is quite, I would say, a full page of new footnote disclosures related to that describe the process. And some of the policies that go along with that. So the audit opinion does have a special paragraph related to that. If there also were any issues or problems through the audit process, disagreements, information that wasn't provided to us that we requested, things like that, we would also bring that to your attention so that you would be aware if there were any issues or problems in that area. We did not have any issues or problems at all. We had great cooperation. We had timely information provided to us, and everything in the audit process went very well and very efficiently. And so we do want you to be aware that the process went very smoothly. In the packet that you have, I believe that you have that available to you, there is a letter that is addressed to our firm. This letter is required by our audit standards to include certain things that are discussed during the audit process related to the financial statements. It has a lot of information in there that supports the financial processes and supports the financial statement amounts and disclosures. We do recommend that you read through this as you read through the financial statements themselves to help support that and for you to help understand the financial statements. With your fiduciary responsibility, that information can help you get that much more information and can help you with that. So we do encourage that. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those for you.
Okay. Any questions from anybody?
Just, Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Cook?
when the audit was done, it did take into account that we would have a carryover of the $15,600,000. This evening, we amended that to account for this additional amount that we became aware of. Is that going to impact or affect your audit at all?
What we talked about that, and because the carryover that was approved was only the $15,600,000 at 12/31, which is the date of the financial statements, the deferred revenue that's recorded in the financial statements is only the $15,600,000. The remaining amount, the $66,000, I believe, is recorded as accounts payable as though it was due back, because at that point in time, the agreement was such. I think that the determination would be is at the point in time that was approved, then it would be moved back into deferred revenue, which would be after today. And then going forward from today, it would be back in that, back with the 15.6 million.
Very good, thank you.
Further questions? Motion from the board.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve by Commissioner Cook. Second by Deputy Mayor Dobler. If you call the roll, please.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dobler,
Yes.
Council members Emerson,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Commissioners Rapon, Cook,
Yes.
and Mays.
Yes.
We have 7 yes, motion carries.
Motion is carried. Thank you for the report. Okay. We'll move on to action item 3E.
E is a presentation for the Go Topeka Quarterly Update.
Good evening. I will just share a few highlights with you, and then the rest of the team has some fun and different things to share as well. Since the first quarter report is pretty hot off the press, most of the information in there is pretty relevant and accurate and up to date, but we do have a couple of new things to share. Some of you are aware and partook in a strategy session that the MTA held at our offices. They facilitated a session to really talk about the future of what could be at both of the airports, and that was very well attended. I think we had close to 40 people there, and since then have been having regular meetings with a number of you here and other community members to talk about continued progress at both of our airports. I'm sharing that with you just because I do believe that's a very big economic development asset that we have in our community. Even though we're not MTA and you're not MTA, it's a very relevant topic for tonight. And the hiring of a new staff member out there, I'm excited about as well, because I see that person as an extension of our team, and we'll be really closely aligned with strategies for growing that asset and bringing in jobs and capital investment to our community. We will have 2 site visits in the upcoming next couple months from aviation aerospace related companies that are looking at potentially locating at Forbes and Billard. So if your schedules allow, we will invite some of you to come and welcome those companies and just talk about this new industry sector that we're trying to grow here in Topeka and Shawnee County. We also, along those same lines, have been having conversations with Washburn and Washburn Tech about the training side of that ecosystem, if you will. When you're starting up a new industry, we need all the pieces and parts, so we need trained people to fill the jobs that we hope to bring here. So understanding the career pipeline and the gaps that we have in the region and the state when it comes to training around all of the different facets in that industry sector is something that we're working toward at the state level and the local level. So I'm excited that Dr. Mazachek is on board and is ready to take on that charge and better understand the different stackable credentials that we can put into place here, from maintenance, repair, mechanics on up to avionics and higher technical training opportunities as well. So we have started conversations with Washburn about a formal research project that they are conducting to understand the capacity and the gaps from a training and education perspective. So more to come on that, but I'm happy to have that partnership with Washburn and Washburn Tech. Lastly, I will just mention we conduct a business retention expansion survey, BRE survey, once or twice a year, where we survey existing businesses just to kind of get a pulse on if they've got opportunities for expansion upcoming. And from that, 75 companies responded, and 50% of them said they plan to increase capital investment substantially in the next 6 months, and 70% said they plan to add new employees. So good signs there, and obviously we use that information to then kind of triage who we need to be putting to the top of our list to go meet with and talk through and help facilitate conversations so that we can remove any barriers for those opportunities. I would stand for questions, or I can send it on off to Ashley to keep rolling.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Cook?
just briefly, I think that all the work that we've done in attracting the Mars and the Home Depot and the Mars expansion and everything along South Topeka, that in Walmart distribution, that's great for our community, adding more jobs. But I would really like us to see the avionics as a great addition as well. But I would like to see more of the white collar jobs, more getting geared into insurance, more into business, not putting all of our eggs just into working jobs. And I think that if we can attract more of those things to build our core, to build our other business areas, that would be good as well. And so just making that as a note.
Agree. One thing that we are also doing is revising our incentive guidelines, and there's a minimum threshold for average wages that we would incentivize, and we're looking at increasing that as well, because as the average wage across the community increases, we want to continue to attract higher paying jobs that increase that average wage. So, right there with you.
Yeah, the next security benefit, the next advisors excel, they've got to be right here.
Yep. Yep. Met with one today that's not in that industry, but a very high-tech side of the animal health industry that has great aspirations and is growing leaps and bounds. So I think you'll probably hear from them soon. But there are a lot of opportunities in other industries that are that high-tech, high-skilled, high-wage job that we're going after, and that's our target. So,
Great, thank you.
Good. Further comments, questions from Molly? No.
Ashley?
Ashley?
Mr. Mayor, I had a question, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you. Molly, and I too, I think that's great that we're getting those jobs. What are we doing about transportation?
You know, transportation is always a topic for us, and understanding the need for transportation outside city limits, outside regular business hours, has been a topic that this group has talked about for quite some time, and is something that we always talk to existing businesses about to understand if that's a barrier for them. Really, you know, workforce and skilled workforce is top of the list, but I'm not saying transportation's not. So one of the things that we are talking about with our incentive guidelines is to encourage folks to be located within a public transit area. And so maybe offering a premium if they're in a location that's on a bus route or offers public transportation is one of those kind of just different ways to look at a different type of equity when we're talking about our incentives. So that is top of mind. We still do have some funding set aside in our budget for workforce barrier support, and it could be creative solutions that companies come to us with. Like if a company wants to come to us and purchase a van or some sort of a larger vehicle to transport folks, then that's something that program that was approved a couple of years ago really is still in place but hasn't been utilized yet. So we remind companies about that also.
So if I may, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
so do they show any incentives that they want to get on board with transportation or not?
I didn't understand that first part of your sentence. Do they have what?
Are they willing to participate, or, you know, like 50-50 with us or anything with transportation or not? Are they showing any signs of participating? Because if not, I think that needs to be in their packet. I really do. I know my constituents, they want the jobs, they just can't get there.
Yeah, I think companies are willing to be creative, but we have offered that incentive to do just what you said, a 50-50 match for transportation solutions, and have yet to have one. We've seen some show interest, but have yet to have one that actually has taken it through the full process and implemented a new program. So,
Thank you, Molly. I just wanted to bring that back to the board because I think that's very, very important. We can get all the jobs in the world, but if we can't get people to the jobs, what are we doing? Thank you.
you're welcome.
Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. That was a really good question. And when you're offering that incentive, then is there an option that if they do contribute later, let's say there isn't a bus route right now, but if they contribute to getting some sort of transit thing going, that the incentive could kick in at that time?
Most of the time, our incentives aren't structured to work in reverse, but I don't remember if that one has it specifically lined out. It's kind of a one-pager that we just put out in front of folks to come to us with on a case-by-case basis with their proposal for what they think would work for their unique workforce, because, you know, there's not a cookie-cutter solution. But we also do have that same program exists for companies that would want to come and provide a solution and be entrepreneurial about it too. So if there was someone that wanted to come and say, hey, I want to start a business doing something like that, then that falls under that same program. So let me look and see what we have for our wording as far as whether they can come back and ask for reimbursement. Is that what you're asking? If they start something, if they come to us and say, hey, we did this, we want to receive a retro incentive?
Well, what I'm thinking about is when we first started having these conversations and you first offered, we paid for that transportation at first with the idea that, what was it, by year 3, they would come on. And what happened is that there weren't enough of the businesses at that time to agree to come on to subsidize that service as it had been. So it's just a thought, the mechanics of that, but if that was always out there, so that if it could incentivize them coming together as we had first hoped that they would, or coming up with something on their own or an entrepreneur, it might help at least keep that conversation active.
Yeah, and I think at the least we could, I hate to survey people to death, but we could inquire with companies, if that need is still out there, and try to get a gauge of numbers and what, maybe they're doing something on their own and they just didn't want to go through the incentive piece of it with us. So firing up that conversation again is definitely something we can do.
Well, and like what you said, we had a vendor at one point, and then that vendor dropped out.
Yeah.
So if a new vendor came in, so that was available again. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ashley?
You can go to the presentation. Thank you. Okay, so just looking at our current project pipeline, right now, active in our pipeline total, we have about 25 projects. As you can see, the majority of those are in manufacturing. Looking at just some of the trends for this first quarter, 6 projects coming in so far for the first quarter. 100% of those are in manufacturing, but they're really kind of all over the place: plastics, semiconductors, even farm infrastructure manufacturing. 2 of them were international companies, and then the requirements are still pretty much looking for that square footage versus acreage. There were 7 that we could not submit for. All 7 of these do kind of fall in the category of a mega project. They're all looking for over 300,000 or 300 acres up to 1,000 acres, and then also looking for any buildings with over 400,000 square feet. And then there was one that just had requirements that we couldn't fulfill. They needed rail, and the amount of acreage that we had didn't fulfill that. So those are some of the trends that we have so far. Be happy to answer any questions or pass it along to Linda.
Questions for Ashley? Deputy Mayor?
Roughly, how many jobs have we brought to Topeka in the first quarter of the year?
Have we brought to, or have we submitted an RFP for?
How many new jobs do we have in
I mean,
Topeka first
I
quarter?
can look and I can send that to you for sure, just from the
Okay.
projects that have been approved through JEDO, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll get that.
Other questions? Okay, thank you, Ashley.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Let me just share with you some of the things that are going on for this quarter. We are very, very busy trying to load up the summer, I should say. The first event I want to talk to you about is, or activity that I want to talk to you about is Social Entrepreneurship Project. This is the second part of a project that Lori Piper was doing when she was here. Lori had some funds left over. And so I decided to do a different type of social entrepreneur project. So I contacted Monique over at Neighborhood Association, and Monique gave Nadia with the Small Business Development Center and myself the opportunity to present before the NIAs and offer them an opportunity. The goal was to identify gaps in their communities and find out what they could do as NIAs to address those gaps if they had some seed money. What we got, or what we asked them to do is just a small proposal saying, we identified this as an opportunity, we're going to address this, these are the milestones that we would capture, and this is what the outcome is going to be. And so they are now working on putting together a small proposal. We are going to identify 3 proposals out of that batch. Those 3 proposals will get $3,000 each to serve as seed money for their project. And we will update you as we move along because we're really excited about the options, the opportunities for the communities. It could be as small as, I want to build a flower bed. I want to plant a flower bed around my neighborhood. I want to do a community garden. I want to even participate in the mowing project. We have a number of things that we hope will come out of it. On the 24th of this month, we'll be going to Wichita to present these projects. The first one, which was the social entrepreneur project, that was a collaboration. I don't know if my colleague is going to talk about it or not, but a collaboration with the Small Business Development Center. That would be the first one that we present, and then we present this one where we provide neighborhood associations seed money and track them. And so we're presenting to about 250 people. We'll be huddling, they call it, with a small group. And then at the end of the whole presentation, we're presenting to people from across the state. And at the end of the presentation, they're supposed to do something exciting. I hope they're giving us money. That's just me. So we'll keep you posted on that and let you know what happened at the end of the day. We are actually actively planning the DEI Summit. We have secured our 2 keynotes. The first keynote is our theme, I should tell you, is changing mindsets and shifting cultures. Our keynote speaker is Dr. Shirley Davis, and Dr. Davis will be talking about cultivating cultures of inclusion, belonging, and high performance. I'm looking forward to her. She is dynamite. She's speaking all across the country and has a great delivery, and we should all, like I said last year, plan to attend the DEI Summit. There will be 6 breakouts. The theme, they will follow that theme that I told you about. They will cover supply diversity, change management, strategic analytics, and we will have a big, giant town hall meeting at the end of the day. So if you can join us, it might be beneficial for everyone to hear what they say at the town hall. And again, these are people from across the state. They are not just local people. The next one I have, the second keynote is Joy Aviles, and Joy is from Puerto Rico, and he's going to come and talk to us a little bit about some individual, and I left my paper in the back, some individual high knowledge kinds of information that we can use in changing cultures. So most of our talk will be around changing cultures. So we're excited about that. We are co-hosting with the city staff tomorrow, doing business with the city. We have about 25 individuals that are going to attend, and these are all small businesses. And we're going to, like we did last time, walk them through how to become certified with the city in order to do business. Leah will talk a little bit about what opportunities are available for these businesses, and then they'll wrap it up with, if you haven't gotten certified, if you don't have the ability to do that, let us help you, let us walk you through it. And so we're excited about, how we're moving the needle and how we have friends in high places that will stand alongside us as we do that. Thank you for the opportunity.
Any questions?
Any
for Greg?
questions?
Commissioner Cook?
So, in the beginning, you talked about... Thank you. In the beginning, you talked about that if people were doing beautification projects or planting a flower bed, and while flower beds are improving the culture of our community, and even the mowing project, they help improve the aesthetics of our community, what, if any, nexus is there between a flower bed and economic development?
So our whole goal is to look at these as social entrepreneurship opportunities, and to, end of the day, have an individual do this for a living, to learn how to plant the yard, how to plant the grass, how to cultivate the soil. So that's economic development.
I mean, if we're going to go that far in economic development, literally anything is then economic development. If I want to paint my house, I'm going to get money from you to be able to paint my house because I'm going to learn a trade.
You're learning a trade. This is community development.
All right, so I'm going to paint Commissioner May's house next. I mean,
that's right. Now you have a job. Now you know how to paint houses, and you can become an entrepreneur doing that.
I'm just concerned that that is getting a little far away from our base goal of economic development in small businesses. I mean, when we do the things like the teaching, the courses on how to start a small business, when we do the economic development and getting people, and if Commissioner Mays said, I have an interest in learning how to start a yard business.
Yes.
He would work with you and say, well, these are the steps we would work with Washburn Small Business Development on how to set up a business and how to go through the steps, what employment, paying your withholdings, making sure you're doing your withholdings if you have employees, setting up your business entity. All of those things, that's economic development. But if Commissioner Mays comes to you, sorry, Mays, I'm picking on you, but comes to you and says, I'd like to have a flower bed in my front yard, I don't see that as social entrepreneurship.
I think you missed the whole point.
I have missed the whole point.
You did. Because it's all about creating an environment where individuals can learn how to do something, become independent, become an entrepreneur, hire individuals to work with them at the end of the day.
But how is that generating economic development?
It's creating jobs.
Where?
In the neighborhood.
How?
Our focus is on the neighborhood.
Okay. I'm missing that one altogether.
Okay. All right. You and I need to talk then.
Can I?
Please.
So Glenn and I talked about this earlier this week, and we had the same conversation, and I said, a social entrepreneurship program, I just want to make sure that that we are clear on what we're trying to do. One is, it's addressing a social need in the community.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, a new business will start. An entrepreneur will have started a business. So I don't think it is planting a flower bed as much as it might be somebody's coming in. And I'm not even sure how planting a flower bed ties to the social entrepreneurship part of it. But I mean, the cross section here is we're addressing a social need. Think maybe mental illness or something like that. And at the end of the day, you have left over an actual company and an entrepreneur that started a company that has long standing.
And if that's what we're doing, that's fine, but when you make the comment about planting a flower bed.
That was an example.
But I'm taking your example because we're not just talking you and I. We're talking about it's being broadcast to the city and to the county, and if I'm sitting at home tonight watching this on Channel 4, and I go, you know, I always wanted to learn how to plant a flower bed in my front yard. If I can get some free money for a flower bed, that sounds great. And so I don't want people to be misled. If we're generating jobs, if we're learning and cultivating a new business, that's one thing.
That's what it is.
And in the grand scheme of things, the amount of money that we're talking about is so minute to the whole picture of our $5 million, but still, economic development, it's taxpayer money. And so I want to make sure that we're generating jobs.
These are taxpayers taking advantage of this program.
I want to make sure we're generating jobs, creating new businesses, creating opportunities, and not just putting a flower bed in Commissioner Mays' front yard.
No,
Sorry,
it is
Commissioner.
not. It's about creating jobs, creating opportunity for individuals in neighborhoods. It is not just about, as you said, planting flowers in his yard. It's not about that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Further?
Yes, sir.
Just for the people at home, if anybody is wanting to learn how to plant a flower bed, the Shawnee County Extension Office
Yes,
has a
they
Master
do.
Gardeners program.
They
do an excellent job.
Yes, they do. Thank you. Any other questions?
Further comments or questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you,
Mr.
Glenda.
Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, Councilwoman Ortiz?
I was at the CAC meeting where all the representatives for the NIAs, where they join together and they make decisions. And so I was at that meeting. I did only hear half of Glenda's half of her response there. But I know a lot of I attended 3 NIEs from that meeting until now, and I got 2 more. And they're still, Glenda, they're still a little bit kind of confused, so I can understand where Commissioner Cook is coming from with the presentation. And then we got the application, and there's just not a long turnaround time. I mean, you're asking for 500 words, and it has to be, it's due on Monday, am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so.
I've actually already had a couple turned in.
Okay, but some of the NIAs are not meeting until, I have 2 NIAs that are meeting tomorrow that will discuss it. So the time gets shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
And then there's some, if they didn't have a representative there and they have to go back and discuss it with their
Yes.
NIA. So like Oakland, they don't meet until Monday, so they're gonna miss the deadline. I think the deadline was awful short.
Yes, it was.
And really, that's really too sad. So I was wondering if you could extend that deadline, or it's not gonna be fair for everybody.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because what they do is they take that, what they do is they take that information back to their NIAs, their neighborhood improvement associations, or their NAs, neighborhood associations, and then they have to vote on it. And then they have to bring it back. So you have Highcrest that's meeting the 3rd Wednesday of the month. You got Oakland that's meeting the 3rd Monday of the month. And so.
So I know that Monique and staff told me that they would have that out to them the next day, and I got a copy of something in my email box where they had sent it out. I asked them to call me if there was any questions or concern, me or Nadia. And I think I've heard from one person and received two responses. But I would be willing to come to Highcrest.
With all due respect, Glenda, I'm asking you if we can extend that deadline, because you got to give them at least a month. Yes, everybody received the applications, but one person for that NIA cannot just go in and fill it out and send it to you and say, this is what we want.
Okay.
Without talking to the group. It's just like the JEDO group. So that's what I'm asking. And if they have any questions once they receive it, if they can come to you and call you,
yes,
they still need to go back and talk to that group.
Councilwoman, I understand what you're saying. We are under a deadline because they gave, meaning Network Kansas, gave us this money to have it spent by a certain date. And I didn't lead the project. The project was led by Lori. There was some money left over. I took those dollars and thought I was doing good for the NIAs and came up with a program that we could implement.
Okay, so can you have Lori then give me a buzz?
Lori doesn't work with us anymore. But I can do whatever you need me to do.
I would just like to see if we could get the deadline extended. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was, as Molly said, there was the program started 3 or 4 months ago. And there was a whole round of, education, training, et cetera. But rather than let the money go back to Network Kansas, I thought we would use it here locally. And so we've been trying to look, rather than just do another survey, not having enough activity or responses, I thought we would do something that could impact the NIAs right away. And so if I said it incorrectly, I apologize for that. If the timeline is too short, then I will call them. We meet on the 24th and have to have at least something in place on the 24th of May.
Well, if there's nothing you can do, then there's nothing you can do. But I'm saying for one of the NIAs that I live in, we wanted to do it, but we don't even meet, so we'd have to call a special meeting. And I know that's not going to happen by Monday. And so just hearing that and trying to get the gist of that, of what we can and cannot do, that was my concern.
Yeah, so yeah, I didn't mean to put people in a position where they could not respond. I figured thinking through it, 500 words, that made it, easier, rather than putting it out there and not giving them any explanation. But I know it was a short turnaround time. Nadia and I discussed that, but we wanted to make sure that rather than sending money back, that we were using it locally here in our community. So, thank you, though. Appreciate it. Any other questions?
Councilwoman Hiller.
This isn't a question, but I heard about that when it came through, and I just want to say I appreciate that. Something that was new in our interlocal agreement this year for JEDO was to look at empowering our neighborhoods and the areas surrounding downtown as well. And that opportunity, maybe there's a short turnaround this time, but to say, as I understood the request went, was, is there something you've wanted to do to help build your neighborhood or build individuals in this case, LMI community? This would be an opportunity for us to give you some money to get that going. And if, maybe you won't even have 3 applications this time, but I will tell you that the opportunity to think and dream and say there's other places just than JEDO or government where people would help us, and we need to focus on what we want to do and go out and see what we can find as far as resources. It's something we've been talking about and working on in a number of different ways, and I appreciate that your thought turned to that, to make that offer, and I hope it works out well. I know people were excited to have the offer. Thank you.
Councilwoman, if you want, I'll email you. I'm going to try to get the date extended for this. I don't know how many days it will be. I know that the conference starts on the 24th of May. So I thought we could squeeze a couple of ideas in.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will let my NIAs know if you do, if you're able to do that. Okay. I know you had mentioned you had a discussion with Karen, but that's the first some of us had even heard of it. Yeah. I've been in on it only because I got 2 NIAs that are going down, and I'm trying to build them back up. So I think this is a great program. I know sometimes, we do have those deadlines, but I think one of the things, just to put it out there, just to remember that if you can give us 30 days, all the days help. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Rhett?
Good evening, JEDO Council. I'm Rhett Flood. I'm the Executive Director of Forge Young Talent. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments that Forge has had in the first quarter this year. So with some of our events that we've had, we've really felt the momentum continue over into 2023, and I just want to list and call out a few of them here. Forge hosted the first ever in the state of Kansas Young Professionals Day at the Capitol, where we saw 75 young professionals from across the state here in Topeka at the Capitol meeting with their delegations, while the Forge folks met with the Shawnee County delegation, heard from the Lieutenant Governor's office, heard from the Millennial Caucus, and got to interact with some of our under 40 legislators. We also had, in partnership with Washburn University, a Forge 101 event, which had 100+ students and Forge members, where we got to do a networking bingo, a networking kind of practice session with one of our former Forge members, Sean Frost, and we also had food and drink for them there, and just got them used to networking in a professional setting. We also, kind of on the fun side of things, Forge hosted a trivia night a few weeks ago where we saw 55+ young professionals playing trivia, and it was all focused on Topeka history and Topeka facts. So it was really cool to see that. We've also had several sold out events. We had 2 sold out events at Studio 62 where we had 50 to 60 Forge members each, and then a sold out cooking class as well. And we attribute this to something that we just started last year, which was our recruiting and our marketing campaign. So we are currently in our second year of our spring recruiting campaign, and we are currently marketing across multiple platforms, targeting Topeka, Lawrence, and Manhattan, and we're seeing pretty strong performance in the first 2.5 weeks. And that's led to a lot of new member growth. As of 5/1, we have 96 new members, and that only captures about, like I said, about 2 weeks of the new recruiting campaign. So we're expecting that those new member numbers to jump up a lot. Our goals this year are 250 new Forge members. Last year we had just under 200. And if we can get that goal, that will mean we have 450 new Forge members in the last 2 years, which about doubles our active membership base. So I just wanted to kind of touch on a few of those items. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But yeah, that's what Forge is up to.
Questions, comments? Commissioner Rippon?
Thank you. Rhett, what are you hearing from the young people? What do they want to see, or do they feel like there's needs in Topeka that would help recruit them to Topeka and retain kids here? What are you hearing?
Yeah, so we recently hosted a kind of a focus group with about 50 Washburn students. This was late about November 2022. And something that we've heard for the last several years is nightlife, especially nightlife for under 21. I think we're doing a good job of that, of advertising the stuff that we do have, but for those folks that are under 21, I think that we still have a little bit of work to do. And then also there was, I think, a gap in knowledge and awareness of the business ecosystem here in Topeka and Shawnee County. So I think really what they're missing is the knowledge about the good things that Topeka has to offer. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Rick.
Hello.
Hello, Trina.
So you all know me, Trina Goss, Director of Business and Talent Initiatives with Go Topeka. So in February, you all approved additional funding for the Choose Topeka program. And since then, we have been enhancing some things. So I just want to share a little bit about that today. You should have on your screen the Choose Topeka website, which is still under construction a little bit. Do you want to navigate? Okay. So if you go to the Relocation Incentive tab, you'll see that we have now added the new boomerang and transitioning military service options. And if we can scroll down towards the bottom, all the way down, we now have the 3 options for the employer match. This application is still the same for employers. If they have a candidate that they're offering the incentive to, they go in here and they fill out this form, and that submission form comes to me that they have a candidate that they are offering a relocation incentive to. Something we've just added to that employer application is the ability for them to indicate that it is a Washburn graduate, because if you remember, we added a hiring bonus incentive that employers can offer and get 50% reimbursed for with that employer match as well. On the right, we have the boomerang and transitioning military application, and this is an interest form for that incentive. Again, that's an incentive that does not come from the employer. It will come directly from us. So that is their application that they are interested, and then at that time I would reach out and find out if they're meeting the qualifications, which are to purchase a home within Shawnee County and to obtain a job that pays at least $50,000 with a Shawnee County employer. And then over on the left, and this is where we're going to spend a little bit of time, but I won't take too much, is Skill Fit. So part of the funding that you all approved in February was to add this Skill Fit platform to the Choose Topeka website. So we're going to go onto that screen. Skill Fit is an opportunity for people to go out, search jobs that are available within Shawnee County only, and they can apply. They can also put in their skills that are relevant to them, and then it will send them jobs that match up with their skills, 60% or above match of their skills. If they have things that they need to be upskilled on, they can go and search for upskilling opportunities. Right now, it only shows opportunities that are available that are web-based virtually and on a national platform. But we are actively working with some local partners, Washburn Tech, and Kansas Works. They are compiling all of the programs and courses that they have available. So those will then show up on the screen. So if they wanted to get that education or that skill locally, they would be able to do that. What you're seeing here, I just went in really quick, took like 5 minutes and did a mock profile. So once someone has completed a profile, they're able to upload their resume, or over on the left, they can create a resume if they don't already have one. then they're able to take assessments. I just did a quick assessment, the very first one that it offers, that kind of tells what your traits are. So for me, it was enterprising, social, and artistic, which I'm kind of surprised with the artistic one. I don't consider myself that way. And then I just chose 4 skills that were relevant to me. And then I searched jobs. And I chose this job. It just popped up for me. I have a 77% match to work at Bath & Body Works based on the skills that I put in. There's a couple of skills that I still need to learn because I didn't put in all of my skills there. But then we could click on that and they could apply directly for that job. So I'm really excited about this platform just because it really eliminates a lot of the middleman work that I had been doing in the past by receiving resumes directly and sending those out to employers. Now they can apply directly. And then do we have the video? Okay. So we're just going to show a really quick video just about what SkillFit is, although I already kind of explained it.
Our days and lives look a lot different than they used to. The world continues to change rapidly, and it's easy to feel lost, isolated, and disconnected. When it comes to work, many of us are wondering what to do next and how to find our way back into a career. It's common to feel like we don't have much to offer and that we have to totally restart. At the same time, businesses can't find the talent they need. Millions are out of work, yet employers can't fill openings. There's a major disconnect, and it's holding people and communities back. People need to get back to work, and work desperately needs people. From past jobs, training, and everyday life, we all have developed valuable skills. Often we just don't know how to evaluate those skills or talk about them. We need to rework the job search around those skills to better connect people to work. SkillFit lets workforce organizations flip the job board on its head and start with the client, so they can understand their value and see opportunities. It taps into a person's unique skills and background to identify not just a job, but the right job. SkillFit matches the skills of job seekers to what local employers are seeking, and also identifies training programs based on the job seeker's interests and local employer demand. The job we could have done yesterday is different from the job we can get today. But that's okay. SkillFit helps people and employers connect based on something that hasn't changed: a person's skills and desire to succeed.
And that's SkillFit. Like I said, I'm very excited about getting this going. We just officially had it added to our website just a couple of days ago. So I know we still get numerous hits on the Choose Topeka website on a weekly basis. So I'm excited to go back in about a week and see how many profiles have been created. So I'll stand for any questions.
Questions? No, I like that skill set piece. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find you, Jeff.
Well, me?
Yeah.
I got time on the weekends.
All right.
Yeah. Gardening. Okay,
Well,
thank you very much,
Thank you.
Katrina.
Good evening, Stephanie Moran, Senior Vice President of Innovation. So I'm just going to give you a couple of quick updates on our small business programs as well as our innovation programming. So first off, I am extremely excited to announce that Stephanie Norwood has joined as our Director of Entrepreneurship and Small Business. She is rapidly getting up to speed. We've been working hard on small business incentives all week. So she is learning trial by fire at the moment because we have a window closing this week. We've actually got a number of applicants in for this window, so we're very excited to see what we have come out for the committee to review. Year to date, we have awarded $133,000 in small business incentives. That is across 29 different incentives, pretty equally spread across equipment, construction, and marketing. But we've also had some architecture and design and one proof of concept. So we're starting to see some more traction on those innovation and entrepreneurial incentives that we've added. Looking forward also to a new automation that we have going on with the small business application process. And so we are working with a local startup to build out an application platform that will automate the entire process. It'll be a much smoother process for our applicants going forward. We are demoing tomorrow and hope to go live next week with this. So the next window that closes in August will be fully ingrained in this new system, so look for more to come on that. We're very excited for that. I'd also like to take the opportunity to talk about one of the incentives that we've recently awarded and done the site visit on. So TFM Com Inc. Is here. Troy Flair is going to come up and speak about the incentives that they received. I could tell you all about it, but it's always better to hear from the business owners themselves, so I'm going to give Troy a few minutes to talk about the incentives he received.
Well, we'd like to say thank you very much. We're part of the I-70 viaduct move. Pretty stressful. We've been at 125 Southwest Jackson for 65 years. And making that transition from that home for there, being there that long to where we're at currently was quite the stressful move. And if any of you have ever moved from your home to another home, take that times 10 when you try to move a business and pay bills at 2 different businesses at the same time. We currently are at 323 South Kansas Avenue. Used to be the Hertz building. So made that transition and renovations and everything as well. And we just love the new location and being on Kansas Avenue and being a part of this group. And we sure appreciate all your help. And we thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we're in the wireless communications business, by the way. We are a channel partner for Motorola Solutions, and we deal with a lot of commercial business and public safety. Left that important part out. Thank you.
And I'd like to say, from touring the facility, it's had a major overhaul. So if you're in the area, stop by and take a look, because they've done some really nice work at the location, and it looks very different than it did from before. All right. So real quick, plug and play and innovation. So we've got some exciting things coming up in June here in just about a month. Plug and Play Expo is coming to Topeka. Lindsay Laban and I are incredibly excited to showcase this event. So we will have roughly 20 startups from around the world coming to Topeka. So Commissioner Cook, in response to your earlier question, we've got 20 startups. I know we have startups coming from London and Paris, as well as from around the United States. As part of that cohort, the startups pitch to us to become part of the cohort, but we also have to do a reverse pitch to them. So Hills, Evergy, Cargill, and Go Topeka all gave reverse pitches. Coming out of that reverse pitch, I actually had contacts from 5 of the companies that have a really strong interest in Topeka. So we're excited to have them come here. We may be asking some of you to have conversations or at least introductions with them, talk about the things that the city has to offer. I think there's some really strong technologies. We would encourage everyone to sign up and register. You should have received it, but we'll be sending out another round of registration links for this event. It's June 15th at Townsite Ballroom. We will have animal health startups pitching in the morning. Ag Tech will be pitching in the afternoon. So we're also bringing in the Ag Tech vertical from North Dakota and all of their partners. The word even made it to the Ag Tech vertical on our reverse pitch, so I've had a couple of the Ag Techs actually reach out and want to meet while they're here, so that's fantastic news as well. We have our keynote speakers are Pam Maroney from the Invasive Species Foundation on the Ag Tech side, and as part of the animal health side, we actually have NBAF. We have Stephen Witt coming from NBAF to be the keynote speaker. So I think you'll see a lot of great technologies. They'll be demoing. We'll have pitches from each of the startups, different panels, all of our corporate sponsors. I think it's going to be a great event. That'll take place from about 8 to 4:30 at Townsite. And then we will also have a networking session at the zoo later that evening. So looking forward to that. Like I said, highly encourage everyone to register and at least come for part of that day if you're able. Any questions on that?
Commissioner Cook?
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Mays. I think
Commissioner Mays.
Well, number one, I don't know where you got your graphics for your slide deck. Those are pretty cool looking.
That's actually our new Go Topeka Topeka plug and play logo. So we're
That's great.
updating the plug and play logo for Topeka.
Looks nice.
It's first time out, actually.
See who's paying attention over here? So the other thing is, I was going to ask if you could give us an update on the Astra Innovation Center.
Sure.
I know they got some base grant funding.
Absolutely.
And so.
So we're still in pre-leasing on that. Actually, I threw a few numbers together. So we did receive, BioRealty applied for the base grant. They've received $1.2 million in that base grant funding. Updated costs, what we're looking at in recent estimations, the cost for the project's going to increase by probably about $2.5 million, just because it's been a couple of years since we've done those cost estimates. So that will help offset some of those cost increases. Currently, we need to have 50% of the building pre-leased to start construction. We've currently got 7,000 square feet between Go and Brenda. We've got another 13 in negotiation, and then I need an additional 13 to hit that 50. So that's kind of where we're at on the pre-leasing of that. The other thing that BioRealty has done is they've applied for new market tax credits. Those won't be announced until Q4, but in the event we have not met the pre-leasing threshold by the time those new market tax credits are awarded, that would allow the project to begin construction in January of 2024, regardless of whether the pre-leasing thresholds have been met or not. You're welcome.
Commissioner Cook?
That was actually the same question I had, which was as to Astra and where that falls.
Yep.
With the length of this project and how long it's taken from the entering into the agreement with BioRealty to today, and looking at that we're constantly trying to meet that pre-qualified and people that are signed up to lease the space before we begin the construction, are we losing people because it's taking too long to get started?
Likely, yes, would be the answer to that. I'm continuing to reach out through networks to see if we can't find additional folks to pre-lease that space. I think that's where the new market tax credits have come into play, is that allows us to at least get that construction started in the event we're still unable to meet those pre-leasing thresholds. I think it's, quite frankly, it's a chicken or egg. You build it and you have people that will come, or you wait and try and get the commitments and build out the project. I think the new market tax credits will allow us to kind of move that process forward either way.
Is the intent to build out the construction for a specific business, or is the intent to build out the construction for a generic business that can do a number of different types of things?
Yes and yes. So I think you could have businesses that have very specific needs within that building, but then in addition, I have identified lab space that would be built out throughout that building, co-working space, potential training, AV, tech space. So all those things are options within that facility.
Okay. I just would really like to see something going as soon as possible, as I'm sure you would as well.
You and me both.
Everybody else.
Yeah.
All right.
You and me both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Anything else?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yep.
That concludes our report. I should have given Stephanie a heads up, so I'd have to come up and tell you all that. But yeah, she was the last one of the group. So if there's nothing else, we are finished with our portion of this evening.
Okay. Thank you, Molly. Well, the last thing we have on the agenda is public comment. Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. In the process of doing the city CIP, we've had some discussion about projects that are funded by the half-cent sales tax. And even though we spend almost all of these meetings talking about economic development, which is appropriate, that's not all of the sales tax that this board is responsible for. I did have an opportunity to read the interlocal agreement between the city and county, 2016, I believe it was, that set up this body. As part of that, there's supposed to be a report during the May meeting on the projects, the infrastructure project. So I guess first of all, I'd ask that that be put on the agenda for September. My understanding is we haven't had one of those since 2017, so might be time. And really the concern is this started with the 17th Street project, which is a City of Topeka half-cent sales tax project. In the interlocal agreement, the cost estimate was $14 million. When that was brought before the Infrastructure Committee, I think several weeks ago, it was well over that. It was more than double that. And I think that's, we're in a time of high inflation. Construction cost, inflation for construction cost is much more than inflation. Right now it's running 14-15%. So I think we're going to have to, at some point, we're going to have to look at the priorities of each of our projects, probably, both the city and the county, and start thinking about what happens if we don't have enough money to finish those projects. That's spelled out in the interlocal agreement. It does take an action of this body, and I think we need to, the first time around, we had the luxury of having more money at the end than we had projects. I doubt that we're going to have that luxury this time. So it's probably time to start thinking about what we do and maybe take a better look, closer look at the interlocal agreement. It does spell out what remedies we have to take care of that situation. And I would suggest we spend a little bit of time talking about that in the September meeting. Thank you.
Okay, that was going to be my ask, is that, are you looking at the September meeting agenda?
Yeah.
Do you make a motion for that?
I don't know if we need to. I think you set the agenda probably.
Okay, all right. Well, okay, if, Madam Clerk, if you'll make that happen for us in our next meeting. Okay, anything further? Nobody signed up for public comment? No further business for the body? We are adjourned.